Hello and welcome back to the Cinema Sessions, the Dubliner's Guide to Cinema. My name is Seamus and I'm joined by Ciaran.
You're on it.
Have we met before, monsieur?
I don't think so.
Fair enough. I choose to believe you. We're also joined today by Chevalier, Montage, Détente, Avant-Garde, Déjà Vu, as well as Croissant, Soufflé, Escargot, and Chocolat Mousse. And if you get the jokes, this is a podcast for you, my friends. Because, freuen Sie dich auf, meine Damen und Herren, welcome back to the Cinema Sessions. This week we'll be leaping into the blue suede shoes of American teen sensation Nick Rivers as he teams up with the mysterious beauty, the French resistance, and a cow with welly boots to take on the dastardly fascists of Die Deutsche Demokratische Republik. They're sure to be thrills, spills, singing, dancing, a young Val Kilmer, and more sight gags than you can shake the collected works of Karl Marx at. So sit back, relax, and be sure to straighten the rug. Well, here we are, guys. Top Secret is the film. We have somehow managed to avoid saying the name of. Truly amazing film that I'll get out of the way of. But again, welcome back, Ciaran.
Thank you.
It seems you have become... How do you say indispensable?
Indispensable?
That's what I thought. Yeah. I'm quoting what I think is maybe my favorite character, but we don't come to him for quite a while. So I'll give the spiel at the start because I would hope people watching this is not a film one can spoil, let's say. Yeah. But... we will spoil nearly all the jokes of it. If you have not seen Top Secret, it's 90 minutes, probably less with credits. Yeah. It's available completely legally online, or it's out on 4K now. I have the 4K there, which I got in the 3 for $60 deal in HMV. Why buy Christmas presents for other people when you can buy them for yourself? So the background on the film is Top Secret is a spoof comedy film from 1984 directed by Jim Abrams, David Zucker and Jerry Zucker, written by the same three people. Starring Val Kilmer in his film debut alongside Lucy Gutteridge, Peter Cushing and Omar Sharif, as well as, what's that guy's name? Something Kemp, but we'll come back to him because I'm a big fan of him. The film parodies World War II spy movies, Elvis Presley musicals and Cold War thrillers. The story follows an American rock and roll singer, Nick Rivers, who travels to a fascist East Germany for a cultural festival and accidentally becomes involved in a resistance plot to stop a NATO scientist from being used in a secret super weapon scheme. The film has a 7.2 rating on IMDb with a Metacritic critic score of 68% and a user score of 7.3. On Rotten Tomatoes, it holds a critic score of 77% and an audience score of 80%. Top Secret was considered a box office bomb, despite grossing around $20 million worldwide against a budget of approximately $7 million. And on a personal note, folks, isn't the current political situation the real joke? Anyway, let's not go down that particular rabbit hole. So, as mentioned, this film was considered... a flop. Apparently that is accurate. It earned more than twice its budget. The guys who made this were coming off the back of Airplane, which is a cultural phenomenon. This film is, in my opinion, I prefer it to Airplane. And I do not say that lightly because I saw Airplane when I was a lot younger, and it's a special movie for me. Maybe not quite as much as the Naked Guns or the Hot Shots, but I think this is better, and I think compared to that film it was considered a disappointment, but we'll get into maybe some of the other reasons. Were you aware of this film, Ciaran, before it was mentioned for this podcast, and had you seen it before, or how did you watch it? What did you think?
I was aware of the film before I'd watched it for the podcast, but this was my first time watching it. I would have been aware of it obviously because of Val Kilmer as the actor. I would have watched the documentary that was made about him. It came out in 2022, I think it was.
Yes, the Amazon thing. Yeah, the Amazon one, they did. I watched the piece of it, but we'll get to that later. Yeah, that talked about this film.
But when you talk about this film, and I knew this is his first film.
Film debut.
Film debut. Wow, very fair play to him with this. But that was my introduction to it, and then I actually wasn't really too aware of anything beyond the fact that it was it was a comedy parody sort of film. I wasn't aware that it was made by the same guys who would have made The Naked Gun and Airplane and such like that until afterwards. So that was a nice like little kind of surprise when I was watching it. And it was a good fun time sitting down and watching it for the film. A few gags that really caught me off. Caught me off guard with how funny it was, but
well, I'm thrilled to hear. Yeah. So,
what about you? What was your
I have a convoluted take on this. So this podcast was requested by my cousin Jason. Hello, Jason. To indulge in some stereotyping. He may be listening to this while he's out doing the silage or something like that. If you're Irish, you get that reference, and if you're not, welcome to the show. We're pleased to have you. So. Years and years ago, I used to read Total Film, the British film magazine, and they did I want to say the article was about great films that weren't currently available to watch at home. So like at the time it would have been VHS or DVD. And this film was listed in there, and I was like, wait a minute, what? Those guys made another spoof film and you're saying it's really good. And I just remember it's sticking with me. They referenced the joke of, I know a little German, he's sitting over there. And I had no visual for it, but they just wrote it in that magazine article. So then the reason I brought up my cousin was, apart from the fact he wanted this episode, I was staying over him. So I have a bunch of different cousins who live in Galway, and some of them live in Galway City. So me and these cousins who are not from that particular house were staying in the house, and we was like, we rent a movie. And my cousin Jason, who said like, we get Top Secret. And I used to watch comedy films with those guys all the time. Wayne's World, we watched Hot Shots a lot, The Naked Guns and all this. And somehow I had never seen Top Secret, and I remember trying to, because all my cousins were like, oh yeah, Top Secret, and they started talking about it, and I was like, oh yeah, great film. And I did I know a little German, he's sitting over there, because I was like, I remember that from reading the article, and I was pretending fucking I'd seen it. We didn't rent it out that night because I don't think the fucking store had it. Like I don't even remember seeing the box in like video stores and all this, even though it was like a Hollywood movie and a release. It wasn't until I think it was released on DVD that I got it, and then as soon as I saw it, I just fell in love with it. I was like, this is brilliant, it's hilarious. I couldn't believe I had never seen it. It just felt like a real shame. It had essentially slipped through the cracks. I don't even know how well known it is. I'm surprised you kind of knew it before this. Because in the Val Kilmer documentary, who we'll be talking a lot more about, he just essentially says, it was my first movie and I spent 5 months learning to play the guitar, and then the directors told me it'd be funnier if I just pretended to play, and that was my introduction to Hollywood or something. We really kind of dismissed it, which then I did read an article written on the 30th anniversary where they interviewed him, and he was a lot more positive about it. Now his quotes about it were quite short. I really enjoyed that. That was good. But he was very positive about it there, but obviously now that film was kind of playing something bigger, but he was a very serious kind of an actor who came across it. And I saw it and I just fell in love with it. And I do remember, I think the first time I saw it was when I rented it from Laser Video, which used to be like a kind of a niche rental store here in Dublin. And I was in college and a few of us went away down the weekend, and I remember thinking like, I'm kind of embarrassed, but I really want to keep rewatching that Tutti Frutti scene. And there was a bunch of people in the room, and I was like, I think I rewound it and watched it like 3 times because that was as much as I could get. I rewound it, but I skipped back the chapter because it was a DVD. And I remember I was like, I can't get away, but I was like obsessed with that scene. I really loved that scene just as a musical number. It's great. And that's my kind of introduction to it, and I kind of regularly rewatched it down through the years. Like as you can see here, this is the DVD, and I recently upgraded to the 4K version, and you haven't seen it till you've seen it in 4K, obviously.
100%, like everything else.
Oh yeah. Well, this film in particular really sings in 4K. So myself and Keith did an episode on The Naked Gun, so I'm kind of reluctant to repeat some of the points we did there because it's a lot of the same team, but what I noticed this time watching it for this was how brilliantly straight everything is played. Like everyone in it does just essentially play it completely straight. Like there are people playing Nazis in it who have probably played Nazis before, or if you were making this film as a straight ahead movie, you would cast as Nazis in it, back when they did the British character actor thing. Because it even opens up with Omar Sharif, playing a member of like the resistance, fighting with someone on top of a train, which is kind of a classic. It actually would be a good opening to this kind of a film. And the fact it's Omar Sharif, who was how familiar are you, or were you, or well, sorry, you're still alive, so how familiar are you with Omar Sharif and like what his kind of background is?
I felt like when I was watching the film I recognised him and his name sounds familiar, but I couldn't really say if I've seen him in anything else. What would he have been in?
His big thing was he was in Dr. Zhivago. And he was also in Lawrence of Arabia, I want to say, which two big, like those were cultural phenomenon films. I still, to my shame, have not seen Dr. Zhivago. I've seen Lawrence of Arabia, but they were such huge culture. It reminded me, there's a quote from Martin Scorsese about Stanley Kubrick where he says, one of his films was worth 10 of anyone else's. And I'm kind of obsessed with that idea when you look back on actors and you're like, why were they so big? And then you look back, like, for example, I don't want to shit on the guy because I love him, like Eddie Murphy. He hasn't actually even made that many movies. So when you look back, you're like, why is he such a... But then you look back on how big Beverly Hills Cop, Trading Places, and to me anyway, Coming to America, he made like kind of incidental films in the middle, but those ones were so culturally huge. He's going to be a superstar for forever. Like, and I think it was kind of the same. Now, Omar Sharif, his acting career wasn't something he seemed to really concentrate on towards the end. I think he was more in professional poker player towards the end, something like that. But that's why, like, to my parents' generation, for example, he'd be just this huge actor because he was the main guy in Dr. Zhivago, I want to say. So that, you know, that just kind of made him in pop culture forever. But it was kind of unusual for him to do this. And apparently some of the between the lines, I think the guys were like, who directed, were like, yeah, he seemed okay with it. Like, he wasn't like in love with doing it, but he was fine. He was fine. And they tell a story on the audio commentary of inviting him to dinner and him saying like, yeah, sure. And they were like, oh my God, he's coming to dinner. And they got all this nice food. And then he like never showed up. And they were like, oh, what the fuck? And then someone spoke to him later and said, oh, well, he's culturally Egyptian. And in Egyptian culture, no matter what, you just say, yeah, sure, of course. And then you just don't do it. Like, someone offers you like alcohol, even if you don't drink, you just say, yeah, thanks very much. And then you don't drink it. So he didn't want to go, but he just said, yeah. And then I remember a friend of mine who I don't know how much of these he watches, but he watches occasionally. I remember telling him that story, and he could sometimes be a bit of a know-it-all, this guy. No offense. And he goes like, come here to me. No. He is not from Egypt. Parents maybe are from Egypt. He's from Waterford, this particular friend of mine. That's why I did the voice. Who the fuck knows? Maybe he just didn't want to go, but that was the story they relay on the audio content. But it does start off with, so he's fighting with a Nazi on top of a train, and the first kind of good gag of they're doing the thing of the bridge is coming and it's going to hit the Nazi, but then the guy just smashes through the bridge, which didn't have me rolling in the aisles or anything, but it's a funny gag that was well executed.
I'm not gonna lie, but when that happened, I thought it was gonna tie into the plot somehow, and like it was gonna be like he's like some super soldier, and that's the
he's invincible or whatever. I nearly was thinking I should do a run and count, but like there's a certain number of not gags but like ideas that are repeated, which are like, and that's the one like subverting of a cliche. And some of the other ones are like making kind of jokes using cinema language and stuff like that. Like the gag later where the cars are driving in a circle, but when the camera, when it's zoomed in, you just think they're going by the camera, but when it zooms out, you see the circle. There's gags like that, and I think that's one of the ones, like it's a subversion of a cliche of like, oh, you think it's going to knock them off. That's interesting you thought of that. One of the things they say, the guys who made it, they call themselves Zaz, Zucker, Abraham Zucker. They feel like the plot of this doesn't hang together that well, which we'll get into maybe later. It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers them.
I read that they said about it that Airplane was like a film, or was like a movie, it was a straightforward movie. Well, this one's more of like a jokes book or something. I think I read. Yeah,
it's a series of gags more than well. Airplane was a literal remake of another film called 0 Hour, where some of it is apparently just exactly the same, which I must watch that film sometime, 0 Hour, because I do love Airplane, but this I actually kind of disagree with them, or I think some of the things that they think are huge problems aren't really problems for me. But then we get into, so what I found, I don't even know if this registered the first time I watched it. But it's East Germany in the 80s, as far as we can tell.
Yeah.
But they're Nazis.
Yeah.
There's no bones. They don't actually have swastikas on them.
No.
But they're just Nazis.
Carrying on.
I was like, were they making some kind of a comment, or were they just saying they're as bad as the Nazis?
Yeah.
And then from what I could piece together, it was essentially they were like, well, we want to do a spoof movie with Nazis, but it'd be too dark if it was actually set during World War II. Yeah. So we just put them in East Germany.
Just combined everything together.
Which I was like, oh, well, I wouldn't be the most pro-communist person you'd ever meet, so I have no problem with the comparison,
Yeah.
Our loyal watchers who are fans of Karl Marx, I know all the difference.
They just turned off the episode.
Yeah, they might be, the proletariat will never rise up, or whatever the fuck they talk to each other about. Because I mention it because then we cut to, I think his name is like Jeremy Kemp or something, the guy who's playing like kind of the head Nazi guy.
Nazi, yeah.
Again, he's brilliant. He's just plays it as it were the actual character, and he's brilliant. And I will forever know him. He was Jean-Luc Picard's brother in Next Generation, and I think the episode was just called Family. So a little sidetrack because I love Star Trek Next Generation. There was a 2-part episode where it was the famous one where Picard became a Borg. And then, the second, that was the cliffhanger, so he's on the Borg ship and Jonathan Frakes goes like, fire. I said, oh, they're going to kill him. And then it's like, to be continued. And then the next episode was about them rescuing him. Then the next episode, which is kind of one of these ones the network didn't really like, it was just basically Picard back in his family home. Dealing with that with his brother, who he's a lot of aggro with, and that guy played his brother, and it's a brilliant episode. It is just like a family drama episode. It's great. And he's a great actor, kind of a classic British character actor who just is like, again, if you were making a straight movie, you cast him.
He'd fit in very well.
Because they have that bit where, like, remember he reads the memo and he just has to stamp that says find him and kill him. But there's so much stuff that, like, there's so much effort put into this. This is what drove me daft about those spoof movies from like the last 15 years.
Yeah,
just so fucking lazy.
Yeah.
But like this, even the courier guy takes off his helmet and he's like just a chin strap that was separate from the helmet still stuck on his face. Like you have to think about that. Someone has to do it. They have to execute it. They have to actually make that stamp.
Yeah.
The room where they were, the ceiling is like not matted in, but it's like a special effect basically, like because they wanted a kind of a room.
Yeah.
And it's just like the amount of the craft of the film, which is again really pays off later. That's what it was a great treat the first time I saw it because I'd never heard of it. And then it was like a properly budgeted Hollywood movie with all this great craft in it. And I loved seeing, I remember when I saw, again, this is a crazy comparison, but when I saw Day of the Dead for the first time, I didn't know much about it. And I was like, okay, this is some zombie movie. Okay, they're in a helicopter. And then they were on this huge empty city street. And I was like, wait a minute, I'd never really heard of this film. I was quite young now when I saw it. It's like, and they have this, it was like finding an ancient buried treasure or something. You're just like, oh my God, because you're in for something really special when they do that kind of well. And I had that same kind of a feeling with this. But then we're still not introduced properly to Val Kilmer. We're introduced to skeet surfing. Now, I'm a fair bit older than you. Did you get like what that was, or like what the
It's a like kind of was a parody of like the Beach Boys. Sort of
okay, fair enough. Yeah, they mix their not quite their metaphors, but he's like kind of half the Beach Boys, half Elvis.
Yeah, very good.
Did you find out where the skeet surfing thing came from in your research? Where did they get that idea from?
No, actually, I don't think it is.
So what happened was they said when they were being interviewed for Airplane, or they'd be on the interview circuit, they'd just kind of get bored and they'd make up the most elaborate bullshit they could think of. And someone said, what are the teenagers in LA or California doing now? They said, oh, they're doing this thing called skeet surfing, where they surf on a board but they shoot the things out of you. And apparently the guy was like, oh really? Oh, okay. So you're like, interesting. Yeah, now I think I do like the sequence. It is the kind of thing where you go, like, it kind of sounds funny, like the skeet surfing. It doesn't really start to get funny, the scene, I thought, until when they start falling off the surfboards but shooting the guns anyway. And I remember I really started to laugh when like one guy falls off and then like the bullet hits like one of these beach umbrellas, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, get out of here!" That's when I was like, "Okay, this is actually like it's actually starting to be legit, like funny with jokes here." I thought that was very good. And what's the most famous moment from the skeet surfing thing? When I say it, you'll be like, "Oh, of course." But there's a moment that shows up in a lot of the marketing materials and stuff, and it's so stupid and throwaway, but.
I don't think I copped it now.
Oh, you'll know when I say it. Remember when your one is lying down and then she sits up and her tits have like dug a hole in the sand? That is I think on Rotten Tomatoes or something, that's like the image of the film that they chose. They chose to show the film like this throwaway thing.
Fair enough.
What I found, I have to say again, my hat's off to them. Now, they did the classic beach thing. It is a bit of a pet peeve of mine. It doesn't bother me with this film. When characters in movies go to the beach and it's meant to be a nice day, and you can just tell by looking at it, I bet it was really cold because it's like overcast. It has that was like a beach in Cornwall or something in the UK. Yeah, they filmed the whole thing in the UK.
Wow.
But I will say the people in it, they look perfectly Californian to me, or wherever they're supposed to be from. I thought that was...
Yeah, I never dealt with it while I was watching. Like that was...
they again maybe
set in the US.
Yeah, the music kind of helps, I suppose, like being so typically kind of, you know, Californian or whatever. But the people legit, like, they don't like... I mean, I hate to say it, but like, you know, English people tend to have a different look from like your average Californian. They're pretty convincing, And it was that's a fun sequence. Like, but the film, I think up to this point, I thought some of the stuff with the Nazis, I was like, made me sit up on my seat, and then some of the stuff where, like, remember one guy falls off the board and he shoots and a plane fucking blows up. That's very good. It really started to take off for me when we're introduced to the man, the myth, the legend, the late great Val Kilmer, who was 24 years old.
Wow.
And like just distractingly like gorgeous and beautiful in this. Like it is just like, oh my god, like he was
into it well.
He was so young, and he was like, he has the fucking blonde hair, and it's like he's now. Did you come across any of his thoughts, or like what the guys behind it thought about like the success or lack thereof of the character? What was going on?
No, I didn't catch anything about that. What, like with Nick Rivers?
Yeah, I remember watching it and just being like very impressed. Like I was like, he plays certain kind of not even micro, but like some of the important story beats, I think, quite well. But when I listened to the guys like commentary on it, he didn't make Val Kilmer as many comments, but the Zaz guys did. They're like, I didn't really have a character, like compared to Ted Stryker in Airplane. He is an arc, and he is this, and he's just a guy. And I was like, to me that was nearly a strength, because I was like, well, he's just a guy, but he's likable, and he plays it well, and he's just a straight ahead, like he's playing an Elvis kind of type of character. I've never seen any of those fucking Elvis movies, but that's what I would imagine. They're like, it's just Elvis being Elvis, so he's just this rock and roll. And the fact he's so likable, but apparently he did struggle with, well, what is this? Who am I? Like, what am I playing? He was a very, very serious actor. Like,
I can see him struggling with it.
He's Juilliard and fucking all this, and like
Ghost in the Darkness. That was one, I think, as well.
He was a great. It was funny. He didn't seem to really like it, but when he was a movie star, he was great. Like he did fall. I thought he wasn't amazing in Batman Forever, but I don't know that he had a great character to play.
And a lot of stuff got put out of that film, I think, as well.
Apparently so. He's a very just I remember always liking him.
Me too.
Even though, you know, he classically was meant to be a bit of an arsehole. Like the guys behind this said he was mercurial. Like some days he'd be great, and then other days he'd be kind of struggling. I think he was struggling a bit with like, I mean, being serious. I remember my dad going, because we used to be watching again with my cousins, and I remember he told us this down in my cousin's house, because we used to love those Hot Shot movies, and my dad being like, did you hear Charlie Sheen turned down $10 million to make Hot Shots 3? He wants to be a serious actor. And I'm still kind of on my dad's side, is like, would you not fucking pull your head out of your ass and just fucking have a bit of a laugh? And now Charlie Sheen, obviously it didn't work out, but he might say, well, I'd be limited and I'd only get offered those kind of roles. But I am like, what is these fucking guys' problems? I just show up and be, because Val Kilmer himself did say, they kept telling me, the directors, like, lighten up, have a good time, relax. And he says, if you're a young actor listening, if someone says that to you, director, just do it, because you never get a fucking chance to do it again.
Sure, yeah.
But I think some of that tension is maybe what made him really good in it, because he really commits to certain bits, but a lot of it is just he's carried by his charm.
Yeah.
Although they did say, like, the first thing he says, I do like the gag of he's drawing he's painting the thing out the window and it's just a blur. But the first thing he says in it is, he goes to the guy, I've been learning German, for example, and he says something, and the guy goes, what does it mean? He goes, is your daughter 18?
Yeah.
And now it wouldn't be a knee slapper for me, but I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah, it shows a bit of his character.
It's a joke, you know. Yeah, but the guys were like, that was a terrible line to start him off with because he's so unlikable. And I was like, but look at the guy. It's fucking Val Kilmer when he's 24. You're just like, amazing, great. He's just brilliant. There's some of that. It starts off with, they make a lot of hay out of, and I think it's very funny, the tape that's playing in the background. It's like, there's a sauerkraut in my lederhosen. I love all that shit. Yeah. But that's like a level, even at, like, I'm not saying they sat down and like fucking sweated it out, but they had an idea of there's something going on in the background and we're going to have it be there. And it is funny. Like, I think actually that's the funniest thing in the scene. And, you know, I'd have to rewatch them to be fair, but I don't think those fucking date movie and superhero movie, I would say they didn't have any background things going on. Like,
just monkeys research and what's the latest movie that's come out.
I know. I remember I went to see Date movie in the fucking cinema because a friend of mine said, just go see it, because I've never seen anything that bad in a cinema before. And that wasn't even the worst of them. That was like the first one they did. And you did just have people in the audience, and to be fair to the audience, I don't want to just be like, they're a bunch of mouth breathers. I don't know that they were saying anything positive, but they were just like, oh, that's Captain Jack. That's what, like, whatever the fucking guys who made that is what you're going for. That's the like, and maybe they laugh. But like, what the fuck kind of bullshit is that? Whereas these guys were genuinely like really trying. Sauerkraut my later. Love that. And they do play a lot of tricks with, like, so the guy who shows up, like the porter, is actually speaking Yiddish.
Okay.
I am amazed at how similar Yiddish and German sound to an uneducated ear like mine. Like, it's perhaps a bit ironic, considering all that happened in the middle of the last century. So I did like, and again, the guy who's playing his manager is just the kind of guy who might be playing that role, like the sweaty, kind of nervous, you know, kind of guy.
Yeah, very serious.
And then I think the first great sight gag comes up later, but the German guy comes in and like threatens them because someone's on the platform, and you know they take him out. He is not taking him anywhere. And then you hear the gunshot, and then actually there is like one of these weird cultural references that to non-Americans, and I think even nowadays don't make any sense. Remember, Val Kilmer says something to him, and then he like pulls out his gun, and he's like, "What did you say?" And he goes, I just told him I'd put him on the Montgomery Ward mailing list or something. And like, I'm sure in early 80s America, people, it's something like kind of I remember looking it up, and it was something like the mail equivalent of like junk mail or something like that. Okay, like it was something like that. So it's obviously very kind of annoying to be on it, but it means absolutely nothing. To us. There's actually a joke as well later on where Omar Sharif is like, I'm going to the Howard Johnson's, which was like a chain of hotels. It'd be kind of like a very low rent
hotel,
yeah, kind of like, Jesus, what would the equivalent? There would be no Irish equivalent, something like that. Where it's like real. The joke is it's like very American and down market and all this. To us, that means like nothing. But then the first great sight gag where the train is leaving the station and you see the station move back, and then it turns out the train is standing still and the fucking platform is on wheels.
I didn't expect that. That's when I kind of knew, okay, this is what the film would be.
This is all that. Like, and then actually, funny enough, and that joke is a joke about like perspective and how films are made and all this. The next joke makes no sense. Remember, they're going along and there's a tree that's moving. And what I find really funny is a guy like is really running as fast as he can. And he jumps on, and I just found that to be so much like the tree moving was kind of like, but when the guy starts like absolutely bombing it after it, I was like, this is some kind of genius. And again, the way the guy reacts, his manager, is just kind of like, what? Like, even in this universe, like that's weird. Like, what? It's quite clever the way they do it. There's always someone who doesn't react, and then there's someone who does react, but they're kind of like, well, I'm not going to bring it up. Like, you know, there is like some kind of, I won't call it reality, but there's kind of something going on there.
There's some like consciousness of them. They are aware of what's going on, the ridiculousness of what's going
like
on.
Like the film is kind of tipping its hat, but it's never like a big reaction, because again, my memory of the few times I saw clips from those, you know, date movie things, like I was like, whoa,
in your face.
And this is like, they get real actors in, and I remember there's actually it was on the Quentin Tarantino podcast where he was talking about why Harvey Keitel was auditioning for a film, or he wanted a film called, is it What About Bob or something? Some Bill Murray thing with Richard Dreyfuss. And he said, I was really Harvey Keitel was really upset, but then I saw the trailer for it and I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, well, Quentin's like, what do you mean? And he says like, well, I'm a real actor. I would never do like, whoa, and all that kind of shit. And I just remember, like, obviously now Harvey Keitel would never do a fucking spoof, presumably would never do a spoof movie. But I was like, that's kind of the joy of getting, like, Richard Dreyfuss, by the way, is a real fucking actor. Like, he's being a little mean there. But I was like, these guys are real actors who are not just going to do the bug-eyed, like, fucking stupid, like, over-the-top thing. Like, they're actually going to just be like, okay, and you're confused by that, and they're going to do a good version of that, as opposed to just like, hey, watch me be funny. Whoa. Like,
exactly.
Oh, Jesus. Then we get into the national anthem scene. So he's arrived in East Germany. Berlin is very deep in East Germany in the logic of this film for some reason, as opposed to being split in half between East and West. By the way, you were never alive. I do remember when there was an East and West Germany, because I remember I was 6 when West Germany won the World Cup in 1990.
No, I don't remember.
And I remember like asking my parents like, what's going on? Why is there a West and East Germany, and why are the West so much better at football than East Germany and all this? And I remember there's no way to explain it except in like kind of realpolitik terms, and I just remember being like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't get it. Like, it is just like, oh, there's these, you can't say it except there's these two huge superpowers who are ideologically, and you're like a 6-year-old. It's kind of like, well, I don't get it. But I fucking remember. I'm old enough to remember there was a West Germany. Good times. There's a national anthem scene, which is pretty funny. I did like they're given the keys of the city by the East German.
I love that part. Yeah, that was. I think that was my first proper kind of laugh.
Yeah, and they're the most miserable looking bodybuilders. Like for anyone who for some reason hasn't seen it, like they're a bunch of male bodybuilders who come out. That was a thing. I remember in the 80s, like in the late 70s, like they were just the female Soviet athletes were just like, I don't remember it, but I remember my mother mentioning it. Like they were just like, you know, juiced up with testosterone, and they were like, you know, growing beards and fucking, they just, you know, as happens, they didn't particularly look female anymore. So that was kind of what that was playing. But they were so miserable looking, the body. Kind of very funny. And apparently the fake East German national anthem is the anthem of the Zaz, or some involved like their high school anthem or something like that, which I thought was kind of a nice detail.
That's a nice detail,
we come to a scene that a friend of mine never fails to quote, where Omar Sharif and the guy who's like, how they thought of this, like, did the guy just do, it's a guy called Ian McNeice. Do you know where you might have seen him?
No.
He's a kind of he's a face and a name that I know, but where you might know him from is he was the town crier character in Rome. In that HBO show Rome.
No, I didn't watch Rome. No.
Yeah, he was kind of in the 90s. He'd show up in a lot of things. So I was surprised it was him. I'm sorry, Ian, but he put on a good bit of weight after this. But obvious in the script, did it say, you know, in brackets, he says this weird or something, but it's like souvenirs, novelties, party tricks. And a friend of mine just, whenever I mention the movie, that's the first
thing he thinks of. It's a classic scene, yeah. Definitely.
It is. It's very, very funny. Yeah, and this is just kind of classic. Their humor of what's it? He says, he goes, do you know any good white basketball players? There are no good, like the spy talk, but they play it so completely deadpan and straight. And so then he kind of talks him through all the gadgets, and he's like, here, look at this. And again, but like he's doing it for a reason. Like the whole thing of you got to keep up we're just having a chat.
Keep undercover,
yeah, very funny. And I like the exploding cigar. That was maybe my favorite. And then the button on the scene of you dropped your phone.
You dropped your false dog poo.
Yeah,
I don't have any false dog poo.
And again, Sharif's reaction is like, oh, like he's like, oh, like he doesn't go, ooh, he just goes like, oh,
yeah, he just fed up at this point.
He has a rough go of it in this film. Poor old Omar Sharif. So then we go. I think it cuts back to the national anthem. Val Kilmer's in the scene and he doesn't have anything to do, which is not saying it's a bad thing. I think he was wearing sunglasses in the scene. Apparently, they mentioned something about it on the commentary track, but I think he maybe had a bit of fisticuffs in the bar the night before. He was tired or something. I don't know. So then we go to the scene where Sharif is being driven along, and this is again a joke that I think people from the US would guess. Is he goes like, driver, what are you doing? This isn't the Howard Johnsons, and it means nothing to us. And then do you know what James Bond film they're referencing with that when they crush the car?
The crushed car. It'd probably be one of the Connery films, would it?
It is, yeah. Ciaran's a good bit younger than me, folks. This is why I test him. It's not to test you, it's just to see like how well, because when I saw it, I was like, aha, I knew immediately.
I'm going to take a guess because I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to say Thunderball.
Goldfinger, yeah. There's like this gangster character and they kill him off and then he's already dead when they crush him. And now it is kind of a thing that it's probably been in other movies, but like Goldfinger is like the most famous. Jeez, was only 20 years old when this film was. Wow. Oh my God, yeah. Whether that was exactly what they were thinking of, but that was what I thought of like immediately. Yeah, jeez, I used to love it. Jeez, I've seen Goldfinger like 100 million times. Yeah. Now, as good as the film has been up to this point, here is where I think it hits a kind of a stride. So he shows up at this fancy dining hall for like a big meal for all the people at the cultural festival that Nick's been invited for. So I think the first legit like amazing gag is here where he's reading the note from his manager and he can hear it. Nick, I'm sorry, but I can't join you tonight. And then it turns out he's standing just off screen with a little megaphone. But the way they said it, it just seems like so natural. Like they never underline the joke or they never push it for you. Like the camera just kind of slowly pulls back and the guy walks in and you're like, fucking brilliant. That's one of the jokes where I say like it's a subversion of like a cinematic idea. Like you're hearing this and then it's like you just assume one thing and then it turns out like
plays on your expectations.
Exactly. Just brilliant. And again, the fact that guy is he's not like some buffoonish looking guy. He's the kind of guy who might just play that part. Anyway, and that is just chef's kiss on that joke. That is a brilliant joke. Then we're introduced to the leading lady of the film called Lucy Gutteridge, who was like, if you look at the box sets here, she's like credited right beside Val Kilmer.
Wow.
And looking at her credits, I could not tell you why, because she doesn't seem to have done, to a modern person, like a big project just before this. She essentially seemed to have retired from acting in 1993. Actually, on the commentary track, there's like a moderator, and he says, "So, guys, can you comment on your use of leading ladies? Because you tend to use people then who don't tend to act much afterwards, like Lucy Gutteridge, Priscilla Presley, and Valerina Galino in Hot Shots." And they were just kind of like, "Oh yeah." I think they were kind of like, "Yeah, well, we kind of ruined their careers." Now, Priscilla Presley, I don't know how much of an actress she was. Valerina Galino, if I'm getting your name right, was like an Italian actress from Hot Shots.
Okay.
Boy, what a gorgeous woman. Anyway, she did show up in a few movies afterwards, but this Lucy Gutteridge just seems to have either lost interest or she just seems to. And I did think they gave her a rather unflattering hairstyle in this film, I have to say. She is obviously a gorgeous woman, but I was like, the hairstyle didn't seem to be doing her many favors. Sorry, guys, sound off in the comments about how sexist I am. But so she meets the guy. There is a good joke that I think I can laugh at, even though I'm not American, is she meets the souvenirs guy. And says, "This must be in New York by Friday." So you assume it's like an important letter. And then it's some like publisher's clearinghouse, because he's actually like, with his dying breath, he like sets on fire. here. And it's this completely fucking useless letter. Like, I thought that was very funny. So she goes into the and this is what I mean, like when I say Val Kilmer, he carries some important moments and the film supports these moments. I found it, for the film it was, and again, I know we're overthinking it, I know it's a spoof comedy. I believed when he saw her arguing with the maitre d', I just was like, it didn't seem unbelievable to, and I know how stupid that word is with this movie, but I was like, I could buy that he went over there and tried to help her out.
Definitely,
the way he sold it. I actually think their romance is fairly successful in the film, in that you buy it and it's a through line that you kind of care about. So when the guys were like, oh, the plot of this doesn't really, I'm like, yeah, maybe the plot isn't, but like there's enough of a through line where things and you're invested enough in it, like, and you believe that he'd be attracted to her.
See that obviously he's a rock star and like, he's probably like a womanizer and all, so he sees a good looking woman across the thing, and like he's obviously there as a, you know, to represent America. So obviously he's like, oh, I can go over and do that and get away with it. So
there's elements of the character that, again, again, maybe we're overthinking it, but like he just seems to be one of these guys who the world just kind of lays itself out and makes it easy for him. Like if you remember on the train, like his manager is like, oh, you're learning German awful quickly. Like he just seems to be this kind of a guy who things always tend to go well for him. And that is a character trait. Like there is a character there. Like, I mean, again, I'll try not to limit my references to them, but do the characters in Date movie or a superhero movie, do they have any character traits? No. So there's a really funny dance scene where and it's quite elaborately done, like it's in long takes and everything, where they're having like a conversation and what was it? My uncle was American. He managed to escape in a balloon during the Jimmy Carter presidency. And just the way they're all dancing and it's elaborately done, really like it. They get back to the table, which is where we get the truly chef's kiss and best joke in the film. I'm sorry, I really don't speak any German. That's okay. I know
a little German. I know a little German. He's over there.
And the guy she points to is so happy to be German, presumably. He's in like the fucking later. Whenever I hear German, like in a certain sense, I'm always like, I always picture lederhosen. I'm sorry. There was actually my mate is married to a German girl, and her father one time speaks quite good English, and he brought it up like out of nowhere, because I am like, look, it's not really for me to bring it up. But he goes like, I think when people think of the Germans, they think of, you know, the lederhosen, and the way he said lederhosen, I was already like, and he was like, but that is not Germany, that is Bavaria. And I was like, all right, but sorry.
Playing top secret.
Yeah. I'm just gonna keep thinking of you with the like fucking in the late. Well, would you what's the alternative imagery? Maybe embrace the fucking later. But that guy is so thrilled to be fucking in later. He's like, oh, like lifts off the hat and everything. Oh, fuck me. Absolutely genius. You wonder when they thought of that, were they like, oh, this is a real winner, this joke. Fucking brilliant. But then I love this whole, I think this, I'm not saying it's the best, it's definitely not the best. This might be my favorite song and dance scene in any movie ever. I just love it. I think it's brilliant. And Val Kilmer is great. But I love the build up to it. Like the build up to it could legit be in a normal movie. Like it's a misunderstanding of it's this really serious, boring opera singer, and there's a great bit where he goes, Colonel Klemper is a huge fan and has a colleat collection of his work, and it cuts back to Val Kilmer. He's like, oh,
he's delighted with himself.
That's what I mean. Like he's a real character who like reacts to things. But the way he keeps like gilding the lily of the guy, how great he is, and Nick just assumes it's him. And the way he just obliviously walks up there, like it doesn't have to be a spoof movie for that scene to work. But then I can't quite explain why. I just think the way he dances, I love the song. He's a very good singer, Val Kilmer, the way they do it. What do you think? Like, should it? I wouldn't change it for the world, but should it have been something funnier? Should it have been a joke song? Should it have been like? I don't know. I'm just thinking. I think it's perfect. But when you look at it and you like, if you were planning it, wouldn't you go, shouldn't this be funnier? Because he just sings it a song, like a Tutti Frutti. It's not a joke song. Like he sings kind of a joke song later on. But is it just movie magic that it works, or like what's?
I'd say it is like movie magic in terms of like Val Kilmer's performance and how they choreographed the scene as well. I think everything like that. I suppose like they could have maybe done it funnier, but maybe like it would have been kind of overdoing it a bit too much by having too much comedy injected into it. And maybe it would kind of undermine the singing and the choreography of the scene, something like that. That could have been maybe a detriment if they had done it that way.
I just find it to be like a non-intuitive but kind of brilliant decision for it to just essentially be a straight. The only humor in it comes from the band, like the background and the joke. It is kind of a like. Look, I love the sequence, but those are kind of like, hey, it's a bunch of owl lads doing kind of rock and roll shit.
Yeah, like one of them is like Jimi Hendrix with the guitar.
Which is funny, but like they never make a joke out of Val Kilmer doing it. And the guys in the commentary said it was important to him to be credible doing the singing thing, because if you're spoofing Elvis, like you have to say like he was good at the old singing and dancing and all this. And I just find it very interesting. Like if they were to do it again today, like this kind of, there's no doubt he'd be fucking like, and they do a bit of this later, but he'd be like hip fucking breakdancing, or he'd be doing something more overtly kind of funny. Whereas this is just he sings well, he moves well, like he just genuine. And I don't know what, I think he is wearing kind of like cowboy boots, but the way his legs look and everything, like he just looks like a fucking movie star up there. The way he does all the dancing on the piano, and there is a joke that I still didn't notice, I just read about it, but the bit where he like lowers himself down on the chandelier, apparently if you look in the background there's another chandelier that's moving up as that one's moving down. So the idea being the chandeliers are all connected, which is again just a brilliant throwaway thing, like
the background,
the effort they put into it. Like it is just a legit good sequence. It's shot in fairly long takes and everything, and I remember, as much as I was enjoying the film up to that point, when that happened I was like, all right,
you're locked in.
Now I'm on board. This is amazing. And I liked how she was coming around to him, like she was just genuine, like, oh wow, this is he's really good at this. And you can kind of see why she'd be into him. Like that stuff is working, and it is important, or else you end up with those movies I promised I wouldn't reference anymore.
Absolutely.
And then they did have the button on the scene where it was like, you're flaming hog balls. For fuck's sake. And he's so disappointed that she's like ditched him. Like, oh, poor guy. And again, that dynamic could be in a regular movie. That's what I mean. I think that romance is quite just successful in terms of like the story beats. I think it's the next scene then, our sign off to the Omar Sharif character, where he shows up to the girl. What's her name's character? Lucy Goodrich is the actress. Yeah, what's her? I think she just has some generic kind of a name. We'll call her Lucy Goodrich.
Call her Lucy Goodrich. Best way to do it. Omar Sharif shows up to her apartment, and he is, because in this last scene he was crushed in the car crusher. He is completely entrapped in like a bunch of car pieces and all, so he stumbles into the place. Yeah,
apparently it was a midget in an Omar Sharif mask when you can see it from top to bottom.
Wow.
And the close-ups are, just him in the thing. Fair play to him. He committed. I'm sure he was well compensated for it. I was watching this and my young one was in the room and she was like, what's going on? Why is he in that car? And I'm like, oh, she always asks me a question. I'm like, it'll take me like 10 minutes to explain, and you'll stop listening after 30 seconds. But I was like, oh, he was crushed in a car. Why? I'm like, oh god. But the scene is, it's just like the conceit of him being crushed in the car. You kind of go, oh yeah, that's kind of funny. What makes it really good is the little individual gags that they do. Like where he's like, I think it's in the glove compartment. He's like trying to read, what the fuck does that even mean? But he's like, he's beeping the horn, he turns on the windshield washers. And the little button on the end of the scene is brilliant, where she leans across him and her bosoms, let's say, are on his face, and then the aerial goes like, and then it goes like, and that is just like their timing in it is like, the timing of that is obviously you can say it's fucking this kind of joke or that kind of joke, but the timing of it, there's actually a joke in it that I didn't ever get the reference, and the timing of it still made me laugh, which is, I'll skip way ahead, but they're in the pizza place at the end, and the girls are like, aren't you Nick Rivas? And he goes, no, you've got me confused. She's like, no, but you are. And he goes, no, I'm Mel Torme.
Mel Torme, yeah.
And I have some idea who he is because I've looked him up, but the name means nothing to me. But just the way and the timing he said it always made me laugh. I don't know, I can't explain it. There's just something magic in the timing of it. Then we get to, it's the ballet scene next.
Scene, yeah.
Now, what was your take on the ballet scene, Ciaran?
I can't say. Well, it was a great another musical number that I enjoyed, like the scene earlier. When they're at the function. What was your take on
it? I just kind of find it like a little bit. I don't dislike it, but I find the gag of like the guys just have these enormous kind of cod pieces. I'm like, that's a little beneath the film. I think the film is kind of cleverer than that.
Yeah.
And they don't. I was like, where did that come? Like, what is that spoofing? Let's say, like, or like when they do the joke about the platform moving and not the train. I'm like, I get what you're getting at there. Whereas with this, I'm like, I don't get what this is. I don't think it's bad or anything, but I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe they couldn't come up with something else. Or there was one or two funny moments where like one of the guys is carrying the girl, and she's kind of standing on it. I thought that was kind of funny. And there is a bit, I think, where again they do the thing where someone kind of reacts, as in like, I think it's the lady sitting next to him, and she's just like, what? And then you kind of automatically look at Val Kilmer, who's just looking at it like nothing is happening. And that kind of makes me laugh. But the thing with the big cod pieces, I'm just like, okay. Or where they're dancing across them, I'm like, okay. But it's kind of a place filler. It wouldn't be my favorite gag.
No, it didn't really stick out to me as
a thing,
something that made me laugh out loud or anything like that,
then we get into the plot of it. So just I can kind of take some of their points. Like, it is kind of a coincidence he's at this ballet thing and he sees Hillary is her name. It means she whose bosoms defy gravity, as she says earlier. The policeman from the opening scene actually is in with her, and she pulls a gun on her and she tries to distract him. So Nick goes over, and there is a funny gag where he's like pushing the guy, grabs him by the face, and then his face gets stuck.
His face gets stuck like that.
And then the guy goes over the balcony, gets killed. Now, where the scene really takes off and becomes funny, they're trying to escape, and they open the door with janitor, and there's just a dude just in there with the mop and bucket. That's great. And then they go into I don't even know how well this lands for people, but I did kind of get a chuckle out. They go into the prop room, and there's all the propellers from boats in there. I was like, that's kind of random, but I did that. The janitor joke, though, I was like, perfect. Then, so they have a quick bit. The only thing they look down on the city street, and it's like a pretty good model. Apparently, the model was from Superman.
Superman,
yeah. And the joke is that there's gerbils in there. Like, what I say, I kind of get what that joke is like, this is a model and it's fake. When I said, so the thing with the cod pieces and the thing, I'm just like, I don't get it. Is that a thing like that you notice at ballet, like the guys have bulging dicks or something? They're just exaggerating. I don't know. I have no interest in ballet, so maybe that's it. Then we get into another very strong scene here. So we cut to Nick's like, oh no, you escape, but they can't do anything to me. So we cut, and he's done like he's putting off. You don't see that in movies anymore, where you kind of check off the days or something. But what really makes the gag is the way Kilmer delivers it, because he's, he just marks off 20 and his manager walks in and says, oh, thank God, I've already been here for 20 minutes. And he draws no attention to the fact it's a joke. He just says it flat, and that's what makes it fucking funny. I've already been in here 20, as if that's horrendous or something like that. And then they follow up that gag with another all-time gag from the film. It's Nick, I've tried everything. I've contacted the embassy. I've even gone to UN. I just can't bring my wife to work. And I love, he gives him like this, oh, have you tried this? And he pulls out like the fucking design on that box of the anal intruder. He's like, oh, that is now a classic Zaz gag where someone's talking and someone is, doing something with something that's just getting increasingly outrageous. Like he's putting the different attachments on it. They actually are talking about the plot at a certain point, and you never fucking listen to it because you're just watching the gag. Because who gives a shit really at that stage? But the guy's like, oh yeah, don't worry, look, I'll take care of it. Did you in your research come across why there is a picture of Cher?
Yeah, Val Kilmer was dating Cher at the time.
What the fuck?
Crazy, isn't it?
That is a weird one. Now, like, he wasn't even famous. It's so weird. Like, how did that happen?
Sure,
What the fuck? Although, was she... I think in the 80s she was on a bit of a downturn, but she still would have been... No, I remember being young and knowing who, like, Sonny and Cher were and all this. She would have been a known, like, figure at the time. And she... Not knocking this, she would have been 15 years older than him, something like that. She'd be a good bit older than him now, I would say. Yeah, at least, well, sorry guys, another sexist moment for him. For the female being older, she was definitely older than him. But like, that was really... I just thought it was a gag, as in like he likes Cher, but I was like, whoa, what the fuck?
She together, yeah.
Fair play. So then we get into... so he's like, oh, don't worry, I'll be fine. And then we have to fake out... execution scene where they did the German bit at the start. There's a sauerkraut, my lederhosen. This priest is saying, he's just saying Latin things like e pluribus unum, like quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo, yeah. That's
like just random stuff. Again, the timing of that is brilliant. And actually the logic of it is good, because if you watch... So the gag is ultimately it's the priest who gets executed. But if you watch at the start of the scene, the cell is closed and the guys have to open it for him. So like there's a logic of like he is just a prisoner who's been taken out of the room. But the way he just keeps like, they're just random phrases, and it really pays dividends with the French resistance at the end. But I thought that was pretty brilliant. And then the Nazi guys are perfectly plausible as Nazi guys, and we have ways of making you talk and all this. And again, I remember because we watched it, a few of us, and the bit where the guy goes about apparently your friend forgot that we use 220 volts electricity, and they pull up the anal intruder in the background, and he goes and you just, in your mind, you're like, I know how this sentence is ending. Even though it's a spoof film, you're like, I know this, our doctors did what they could, but it took them 2 hours. And your mind is just like, he's going to say to do this. He goes, it took them 2 hours just to get the smile off his face. Oh, my God. Oh, fuck me. How did I come up with that? Brilliant. And and the other gag I remember a mate of mine really laughing at was, Klaus is blind, he does everything with a sense of touch. Hans is a moron, and the guy just looks like the most dimwit who knows only what he reads in the New York Post or something. But the casting of that guy, combined with the way the guy read the line, and he just says it like he's blind, and is in like completely factual. This guy's a moron, just completely factual, like straight, flat out. Oh my God. But maybe my favorite gag is when they start torturing him, and he has like the dream where he's in school.
Oh, he's in school,
and he's like,
I'm late for class.
Yeah, he goes, I'm back in school. He flashes back, and the guy's like whipping his back. He's like, oh, thank God. I feel him in that scene. I am like, better to die. So then he's brought back to the cell, and then this is kind of actually, just before we get into the scene with Dr. Flamand, the scene of him like going through the various entrances and all that on the... Oh, in the prison? It's just very well done. And if you notice, actually, because there must be some cut there, or there must be something going on, or they did move. He knocks the picture of Cher off the wall, and it's all done in one take, and this picture stays there. And was it intentional that he knocked it off and it landed upside down? Or I don't know, but it's just insane the amount of detail that went into that.
It's all one shot. He's coming through all the different entrances, up through the toilet and everything.
It's funny, but also just like in terms of like that's impressive. Like very how did they like real cross people making this? Then he falls into Dr. Flamand, who in his laboratory,
played by the great Michael Gough.
Yeah. Is it Go or Gough? I don't know. But now, I know him from the same place, but I do know him from other things. Where do you know Michael Gough from, let's say?
Obviously, the Batman, old Batman films. And then, was he in a TV show? A big TV show?
God, I couldn't tell you. Maybe, yeah. I know him now from was he in the Michael Keaton ones as well?
Yeah.
He was same through all of them?
Same through all of them, yeah.
Okay. He was also, funny enough, he's very good. I like playing that kind of a role, and he's funny in this. He was in the old Hammer horror films. He's in a few of them, and he was, when he was a younger man now, he was not the most engaging screen presence. He's in like the Hammer Dracula. It's called The Horror of Dracula, I think, in the US. There was a huge, like those films were a sensation when they came out.
Right,
and he isn't, like he's up against Peter Cushing, who shows up in this, and Christopher Lee as Dracula, but he isn't like noticeably, he's a bit of a damn squib compared to them. He's very good in this. He got better as he aged, like he was better as like an older kind of a character. There's some, can you explain to me the meaning of the line at the end of the scene where he goes, if we don't get out of here, our lives will be worth less than a pile of dead rats and a tampon? Explain that to me. What is that? I don't know what that means. Like, I don't maybe want to know what it means, but it's very strange line.
Very strange line. Yeah, I remember. This member just sticks out because just the imagery of it.
It's so weird. Yeah. So there's some good gags in that scene. Like the way where he goes, like, it can remove all the salt from water. Do you know what that would mean for starving nations? Yeah, they'd have enough salt to last forever. And in the movie, like, it's played as like, yeah, of course, whereas they're like, oh, what the fuck? It wouldn't be the funniest scene. I remember reading with them, I think it was in that original article I read, where they said the submarine coming through the wall, they said we spent so much fucking money on that gag, and then it never gets a laugh. And I was like, something about it was just a little, it's not like it's awful or anything, but I actually find myself laughing more when the guards burst in, and in the foreground Michael Gough and Kilmer have their hands up, and then like the Japanese guy comes out of the thing in the back, like, again, just the timing of it, that was way funnier than the thing crashing through. So then it's the funny scene of Kilmer's going to be executed, and they're calling to call it off, and like this ancient old woman with like what do you call it, the Zimmer frame is going to pick it up. Now this next scene, I
actually for that scene with where she's gone over the thing, I heard that like the original cut, it was actually longer.
Like, I came across that as well.
It was like it went on, like it was like, I think the scene goes like it's her all the way over, and then the phone stops ringing, and then she's walking back, and then it starts ringing again. She walks back again.
I read that. I wonder. I'm not saying it's not true now or anything. I just like, I could kind of see that being the gag and it being funny, but I just think you get the joke.
You get the
already.
Joke.
Like, you're like, oh, okay, very good. The concert scene that comes up. How apparently those are just extras or actors. The girls in the audience. There was a moment on the commentary track where the guy explaining it got a little convoluted, but for a moment he seemed to say this is like documentary footage of girls screaming at Elvis. And for a moment I was like, well, that doesn't sound right because it matches so well, but it's plausible. Like, they're so good. They just look like they're fucking like, oh my God. Like the way they're screaming, they're like, oh. That is just, again, really, really good stuff. Like, they got great little performances out of them. Again, it wouldn't be like the most knee-slapping bit of it, but I like all the performances. His voice, Val Kilmer, seems a little weak for that kind of singing he had to do, like that crooning kind of a thing. He did all his own singing apparently in The Doors.
He did all the singing in The Doors.
And that, I've no notes about that. Like, he just sounded like Jim Morrison. He was fucking perfect in that. His voice doesn't, like, I really enjoy it, but there are moments when he's like, baby, please. And his voice doesn't seem quite able to. He was a younger man as well. Is it really that important?
Could have played like an Elvis character in later True Romance, I think, didn't he?
He did. Yeah.
Came full circle.
Yeah, you hear these stories about him, and then apparently in True Romance, it was just kind of sprung on him by Tony Scott, like, I've actually changed it, we're not going to see your face at all. And he just apparently went along with it. Like, you have to kind of balance that with... Like the stories now you hear around the time of Batman Forever and particularly Island of Dr. Moreau, like he did just sound like he was unpleasant to be around. I don't know, did they talk about that much in that documentary? Because that's where he really became notorious.
I think Island of Dr. Moreau, they talk about that one a good bit, and I think, now it's been a while since I watched the documentary, but I think he kind of like expresses a bit of sort of regret for that. I think or like kind of like takes it back that he realised he was being a bit too serious in that thing. From my memory,
because he was going through, I think, a bad divorce at the time.
Going through divorce,
and he did just have this awful like, there's even that joke in Father Ted where he's like, I remember, actually, funny enough now, the guy goes, remember the priest is like in LA, and he goes like, do you know anyone famous? And he was like, oh, I don't know, Kevin Spacey. And he goes, no, I've never heard of him. And you're like, ooh. And he goes, what about Val Kilmer? Here he's a complete bastard. That was his rep. Like, there were it was all over the place what a dick he was. Apparently even on, I don't know, was it much Batman Forever, but Island of Dr. Moreau,
that was
gave him a
tough one,
because when he did that movie Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Shane Black.
Shane Black, yeah.
Apparently Shane Black did he accepted an award at the BAFTAs or the Empire Film or something, where he goes, because I remember Robert Downey Jr. before he was Iron Man was in that, and apparently Shane Black said, I'd like to dedicate this award to the guy who's not a drug addict and the guy who's not an asshole. So make of that what you will. Okay, I don't know. Okay. Maybe he just went through a bad patch or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm kind of criticizing. He sings better than I do, and he looks a lot better than I'll ever fucking look. I did like the gag of where he's singing the kind of romantic ballad, and he keeps coming up with elaborate ways. So where he puts his head in the noose, or he puts his head in the oven, or he lies down in the train tracks. But again, just how good those girls were in the scene, the way they were screaming. I for a second when your man was explaining it, I was like, well, I could kind of see how it is just documentary footage. They really look like they're losing it. So then he's rescued from the concert by the guitar gag, which I thought was funny. Another all-time brilliant gag when they're escaping. They're going to escape with bicycles, and she goes, those bicycles. And he goes to the bicycle. He's like, and he does it so seriously. He does it as if they were horses. Fucking great. I wonder, was it stuff like that made him go, I'm trying my best here for this absolutely outrageous bullshit, but that's what makes it so funny. It's so fucking funny. And then we've the scene in the park where I did like the gag of there's a huge pigeon statue in the background, and the guys come down and start taking shits on it and all this. Now, apparently at the time, there was an interview with Kilmer where he made some kind of comment about the guys are great, but sometimes they burn a lot of energy discussing things with each other, and I think that energy could go towards the cameraman or the actors or something. There was apparently a big argument of should the pigeon shit at the end, because the button of the scene is the pigeon takes a big shit, and the guys were arguing, they shouldn't do this, shouldn't do this, whereas I'd be like, can't you shoot it and maybe cut it out if you don't need it? But they filmed it in kind of long takes, to their credit. And apparently what won the day was, they said, we haven't really had a joke for 2 or 3 minutes, and they were like, all right, well that settles that. Now we get into out of the films, it's a great gag scene, but it's, in terms of a technical accomplishment, a truly amazing scene, with the scene with Peter Cushing in the Swedish bookstore. Nice. On the Blu-ray and even the DVD, they have the scene forwards, as it was recorded. So the scene, for anyone for some reason or forgotten, the scene is played backwards of them walking into the shop, walking around, putting some books up on shelves, and then going up pole at the end. The joke being Swedish sounds like English backwards. I have watched it properly, how they filmed it, and it still looks impossibly complicated. It's how the fuck did they do this? It is breathtakingly, just in terms of a technical achievement, it is up there with anything I've ever seen. It is amazing, the timing of it. There's jokes in it, no matter how complicated it is. Kilmer's performance of getting everything, apparently they did 27 takes, and they rehearsed it one day and did it over another. It is just amazing. When I first saw it, my jaw was just on the floor. I was like, oh my fucking god.
It's a very weird scene as well, because I didn't at first I didn't completely realize it was being done backward, and it's very creepy and all, once you kind of see it, the way it's done.
It is weird, it's an uncanny kind of a feel to it.
There's a few creepy things about the scene as well, because it's obviously the first gag with the magnifying glass, when he has I think it's on his left eye, is that was something later on Peter Cushing would have had cancer, I think, in his
that's eye. Right
and then this would be something horrifying for you to know, but so obviously for that scene, he has the magnifying glass, and then he takes it down, but the thing is still there.
It's still a huge eye.
It's they made a face cast of his face for the scene.
Oh yes, I think I know where you're going.
And that face cast was kept and was used 30 years later in Star Wars Rogue One. When it was CGI.
You never fucking know, do you? Yeah, my god.
I thought of you when I said that.
Well, you would, even at the time now when I saw it, I would hardly have known who Peter Cushing was. That magnifying glass thing is a famous thing from his Hammer movies, where it's in one of the Frankensteins, where he plays Victor Frankenstein in those movies.
Yeah.
He's a fucking brilliant actor, Peter Cushing. Would you know him mostly from Star Wars? Would that be fair to say?
Star Wars and then Frankenstein as well.
Oh, you would know those films, wouldn't you?
I haven't watched them, but I just know, I remember like reading he was in them.
Okay,
and
I knew he was a
stuff.
Hammer guy, but I only really got into Hammer the last, say, 10 years or that. He was a brilliant actor now. I actually, Star Wars was one of those films that I knew of, and I'm not a huge, my dad wasn't a big Star Wars guy, so I never was.
Yeah.
But I know he's Grand, no, is he Grand Moff Tarkin? Is that his character's name? Yeah, and then they brought him back. Anyway, look, I'm sure his fucking family were well paid or whatever. He's apparently just like the nicest man you'd ever meet. All the stories you hear about him, he was just this wonderful guy, and he it's really depressing, but he did an interview after his wife died, and he said to the guy, like he said, I'm just passing time until I can be with her again. He said, and I want you to write that, my dear boy. Like, he's the kind of guy who'd say, my dear boy. I want everyone to know I'm just passing time until I can die and be with. He didn't say until I die, until I can be with her again. He was like, oh my God. Brilliant actor. Great. And again, for what it's worth, just apparently like the nicest guy you'd ever meet. And he was brilliant in this. Like, imagine the patience. He goes, they said something to him like, oh, so Peter, I'm sure Hammer would have finished this scene a lot quicker. And he goes, my dear boy, Hammer would have finished the film and be starting the sequel in this amount of time. They're amazing, those Hammer films, but they were made very, very quickly, very on the very little money and all that. Really, I'm a big fan of the old Hammer horrors. I don't think we'll ever cover one, but they don't do well in the algorithm, maybe, I don't know. Okay, but I'm a big fan of the old Hammers. So then we go into another favorite scene of mine, the kind of romance scene in the attic, where we get a Blue Lagoon reference. Are you familiar with that film at all?
I came across in the research Blue Lagoon. I think I know the name, but I'm not.
So when you were watching the scene, what was your take on, like, what the fuck is this? Like, trapped on a desert island? Did it seem weird, or did it just seem like, oh, that's kind of funny? Or
it kind of went over my head. It was still a bit funny, but it was kind of going over my head, like the references to it. I think a few of the references in the film probably would still go over my head.
I'm sure for me too. I've never seen Blue Lagoon, but I knew what they were referencing, and it is kind of weird. Like, it's another kind of genre that's being brought up. But it's perfectly. It's kind of funny and all this. And then I do remember, I just loved the logic of this, where he goes, I think I can. I was trapped in one of those big department stores. Again, he just tells it. But the PA system was on the fritz, and then it's like, so naturally, I never saw my mother again. But again, what I mean when I say, like, it wouldn't work in like a straight film, the logic of the scene, but there is a logic there that has a kind of a nice romantic beat to it, where he's like, well, here's my excuse to sing a song that's kind of nice and romantic. And when we were in college, me and a friend of mine, we used to rewrite the lyrics to the song. I won't go into it because we were insulting some people we were in college with. But what we like, because he goes, "Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss? Is your kitchen a sight? You know, and all this." So we used to say, "Are you filming tonight?" Because we were in a film course. Can I even go into? No, is your schedule a fright? And then we would insult various people on the crew, which I won't, which I won't record for posterity. But he just has a great voice for it, and it is just like this nice, believable kind of romantic moment. Like, it's very over the top, but it's not like on the spoof level either. I just think their romance really works.
I think, me too.
And then the great, I think that was the scene where he is just like strumming the guitar. But he just has a nice voice for it, and I do love the gag of they roll over and the camera pans to the fireplace, they roll in, it pans to another fireplace. And did you know the scene went on longer? So it's on the DVD, I think. So it pans over to the other fireplace, they roll in front of that one, and then it tilts up, and there's another fireplace above that fireplace, and then they stand up. And then the camera pans right, and there's like a huge barn on fire outside the window, and that was the end of the scene. They seem to cut a lot of those gags where the gag was, it kept kind of going. But that was it. But just you laugh. It doesn't become a bigger laugh as it goes on, like the other fireplace. That was brilliant. Then we cut to the singing horse, which is just. I love them. Like, it's just going yo yo yo. Like, what the fuck is going on? And then so this was just a throwaway scene where they're being dropped off there. Yeah, the Peter Cushing told them to meet the torch at the French. So now it's become a French resistance movie in fucking East Germany in the 80s. You often hear people say, "Oh, some of the gags are so stupid, you have to laugh at them." The only gag I can honestly say that is so stupid I laugh at it, but I still think it's brilliant, is where he goes, "Oh, is your horse okay?" And is he okay? And he goes like, "Oh yes, he's just been up all night and he's just a little horse." That is the only gag that I am like, that is legitimately really stupid yet brilliant at the same time. They just completely lean into how stupid it is. And then I have to imagine they just threw this in, but when the horse is walking off and they start singing the beat, it's been a hard. Now I've said this like 3 or 4 times, but this now is where the film really, to me, kicks into high gear, and it is just hilarity after hilarity when we meet the French resistance. So they knock on the door, and you think the guy's really tall, and he's like, "Is this the potato farm?" "Yes, I'm Albert Potato." And in they go, and we meet, he is, I think, my favorite character in it, the guy Duquois, who's the guy who goes, "No one sees the torch." And just so, as soon as your man shows up, the guy playing Nigel, and he's like fucking, like, he's even oiled up and he's wearing the gear from the
curly hair and all.
And you can see, again, they play it like, you can see Val Kilmer playing it fairly legit, like he's like, "Oh, who's this guy?" Like he doesn't play it as a spoof. He does play it maybe a little heightened, but he's playing it as you would. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm kind of threatened by this guy," and of course this guy is just like, I love that guy's accent and everything. Like, he's fucking, "My darling, come back to me," and she's like measuring his bicep. And she's measuring his bicep, and he's like a 10.5-inch dick, which, you know, no one's perfect. But we get it. And why this is so funny, I couldn't explain it. It was like, introduce him to the men, and the guy, I will just read them again. And I am in uncontrollable fits of laughter when he says this. Chevalier, montage, détente, avant-garde, and déjà vu, which is where that guy is the guy on he's in Downton Abbey now. He's like the main guy in Downton Abbey, déjà vu. And the way he goes, "Have we met before?"
I don't think so.
But the way Kilmer says it so flat, he's like, "I don't think so." And the guy, he does the big double take, like everything just works. It's a funny gag. The fact that they all have these fucking just random French names. The way he says, "Have we met?" He's named Deja Vu, and he says, "Have we met before?" And Nick's like, "No, I don't think so." Like, as if it's nothing to him. Fucking brilliant. And then he goes like, "And over here, croissant, souffle, escargot, and chocolate mousse." Oh, fuck me. How they just fucking brilliant. And the time they took for it, and the way people they cast, and they're wearing the berets and all this. Oh, fuck me. This, as I say, just really kicks into high gear. So then she has kind of her reconciliation scene, and I love the way he plays it. Like, "I'm sure he'll be all right. He seems a good chap, really." Just all the logic of it, and like it is, and it just I think for me the romance is kind of the through line for the resistance plot is all well and good, but that is a kind of a through line, because now you're like, oh, because they set it up quite well. Like, this guy immediately isn't the bad guy. They happen to get separated. He does have that little, he's a great actor, that guy. I should have written down his fucking name. I think it's Simon something, or where he goes like, when he escaped from the island, "But it was a foreign ship and they didn't speak any English." And I screamed and shouted at them, but that seemed to excite them all the more. They took advantage. And she goes, "Oh, it must have been terrible." And the look on his face where he's like, "Oh, well." He's just legit, like, it's not over the top. It's just like, well,
just smarmy fucking
wasn't that
English,
bad. Yeah. And then Nick is all feeling kind of broken hearted, and we get that great moment with Nick, life is filled with its little miseries. Each of us must learn to deal with them in our own way, in a mature and adult fashion. And he sneezes in his hand and he just jumps out. That is teetering on being a little over the top, but it's just hits that line
just
for me where I'm
line,
like, that's just that is just really funny. I'm sorry. And then is this the first bit where Latrine shows up, or does he show up? Because the gag is there's a guy called Latrine who comes in, he's always like bloodied up, and Duquois goes like Latrine, and then he goes, it was an ambush, or I can't remember if he shows up, but the Germans show up at the house. And what I was struck by again is the way it's filmed could just be a legit the resistance in a house fighting the guys. Like the way it's shot and everything matches that, but the gags are just absolutely fucking like they milk every single joke out of it. Like I think it's the first one where they like one guy backs up to the bit of wall just beside the window, and then Deja Vu comes in and does the same thing in front in front of the window. And I think every gag in that scene, like the way they make, so one guy smashes a window to shoot out of it, and then the next guy, and it just gets more and more ridiculous, and like all the windows are smashed, and Simon smashes, actually no, I think the character's name is Simon, not the actor. He smashes like the one for no reason, just to smash the glass, and then your man Chocolate Mousse smashes it with a can.
And then there's Val Kilmer shooting the ones through window X's and O's.
That is brilliant.
That's brilliant.
Like again, it's all in one shot, and then what makes it even, it's funny on its own, but then when he just smashes the last and he goes like and he like kind of, he's like real pleased with himself, like, and then the capper on the scene, and I just love that guy Duquois, but like a grenade comes in, he's like, grenade. And you know something's gonna happen when the guy jumps in it. You're like, I know something is gonna happen, but I defy. So he jumps on it, and everyone else in the room blows up except him. Oh fuck me! But just the logic of that is brilliant. And a friend of mine, actually the guy who corrected me on the Omar Sharif thing earlier, it'd be remiss, he's a big Woody Allen fan. It isn't a rip-off now of the joke. I think it's an extension of a joke Woody Allen did in a movie called Bananas, where he's kind of being trained as a gorilla, and he keeps fucking up throwing a grenade. So what he does is he pulls the pin out and he throws the pin, and the grenade blows up in his hand. I think he fucks it up some other way, and then eventually he pulls it out, he keeps the ring in his hand and throws the grenade away, but then the ring blows up in his hand, which is again kind of similar logic. But it is not a rip-off because it just goes so much heavier with it. Like, that is, oh Jesus, I just remember like, the genius of that joke, like brilliant. So they escape from the house. Oh yeah, because that is a funny gag actually, where the Germans bust in, and then Chocolate Mousse just like kind of randomly fires with his tongue and only hits the Germans. That is really funny actually, where the other guy who's never in the movie before or since, who's also black, comes along. It's like, my man. And the guys said apparently they had to they're like, well, we're these like, you know, Jewish guys from USA, but we had to teach these guys how to do that because they're British, so they didn't know. But you could have fooled me. I said, he's like, my man.
Great shooting, Chocolate.
Oh fuck me. And then we end up I think the next scene is just in the pizza restaurant. I
like the opening scene with A. Roy, and like he puts the rifle on top of the coat rack.
Yeah, that's right. And what I also like is we'll kind of talk on some of the details in the scene later, but the dynamic between Val Kilmer and Hillary and Simon keeps playing out in this scene. Like he's kind of hurt, and he's like, oh fucking, I don't want to do this, and she's trying to talk him into and then later when he's singing, like Simon is just sitting there like, what is this? I don't like this. This is like that is a through line to, like, they paid attention to things like that, which I think is really good. There's and just the way they all play it so straight, but where he goes, the girls come over and he's like, I'm Mel Torme, which again means nothing to me. But then again, and then Simon then is like, we only know this, and he's laying it all out. And he goes, well, what are you saying? He goes, how do we know he's not Mel Torme? Which even if you don't know who that is, you're like, okay, that's a great reversal. Yeah, it's a reversal of the gag. And that song, Straighten the Rug, is the only one that's, I think, like a legit, not a real song. Like it's a kind of a gag song. Again, is it like the most amazing thing ever? But what I think works about the scene is how legit of a musical scene is. There are more gags in it than in the other one, like where he spins into the floor. or like, and the guys are like just spinning these dummies that are supposed to be women around. But like when he's at the end of the song, when he's just kind of doing like and there's nobody, he just legit looks great. Like he looks like a movie star, and all the people it's just like, that's what I mean. It's not too surprising, because one of the guys, or was it the pair of them from Zaz, went on to do Ghost, which was just like a legit proper movie. I was always like, when I look back at it, I'm like, even in the Naked Gun films, like the way they kept the romance angle going, and in the Hot Shots film as well, films I should say, it's pretty successfully done. Like the romance, they have a nice kind of
eye for the romance,
an eye for that, which didn't surprise. It's not as surprising that Ghost, was as successful as it was, or that they were as good at it. They do just have a good eye for like what makes something, because if it's just like a cheap looking piece of shit, like who the fuck wants to watch that? Like that's what I mean. Like they just kind of carry it. Oh no, I do like the button in the scene. The little midget guy just looks at the camera and goes, "This is not Mel Torme," which again means nothing to me, but very fun. We did skip over another bit where they quote broke the fourth wall by looking at the camera, where he's I'm not the first guy to lose a woman to a guy who's like the lover of someone on a deserted island, and she goes, "I know, it all sounds like some bad movie," and then they both turn and look at the camera, look at the camera. So then we go into the final, the attack on the Flurgendorf prison, which is probably means something, and where the key image for the film shows up, the cow. So they're going to break in, and they've like all this plan. Even the joke it starts off with, where they're arguing about the cow outfit, it's like, "No, I'll go in the back." And he's like, "All right, then, be an asshole." Just the fucking logic of it, brilliant. And then this is again, today they would just CGI the cow or something like that. They had to get a real cow doing real things. It must have been difficult. They apparently what they did was cut the bottoms off, because the joke is the guys are still wearing their Wellingtons as the cow. So what they did was cut the bottom off it, because otherwise the cow would just immediately like fucking kick them off. But the way they dubbed their voices over and all this, like, it's just so funny, like the way it's like moo, like it's him faking doing the move. And so Hillary stays behind at the truck, I think, but Nick and the boys are trying to break in, because the guys in the cow thing, which is Simon and Duquois, they want to turn off the generator. So the other guys are just going to try and sneak in, and they have some great gags. My particular favorite is where he punches the guard off, and the guard turns into like ceramic.
Just breaks on the floor. I love that as well.
That's great. And I should have written his name, but the guy from Downton Abbey he wouldn't be. I prefer Duquois, but he's very funny. Like when he's kind of caught up in the thing as it goes up on the thing, and he's like, "Oh god!" And they're just climbing up on him as if that was the plan or something. So they burst in and they get Dr. Flamond out, and then I think we missed a bit. And again, the payoff of just having great actors, because the guys in the cow thing, the guy Simon at the back, and the young cow comes over to suck on the other. And again, just the way they play it, he actually says something kind of plausible for that character. He's like, "Come on," he's like, "Why are you always in such a bloody hurry?"
And it's the screaming. He's like, "Oh."
Yeah, so, oh.
I was pissed myself that
guy is actually, he's definitely up there with like one of the funnier performances in it. And then the upshot of that is now the plot makes absolutely no sense. Why would he help them turn off the generator? It makes no sense. And then they're going to go turn it back on, but who cares? The film doesn't need that to make any sense. No. But then when they go back to do it, and the bull and he's like, "Oh." And they actually have the Jaws theme, like that's the legit theme. Jaws music is like, it's like, "Oh." So they're burst, and then the scene where she figures it out, Hillary, and then your man's there with the gun, and he's like, "Yes, I know all about you, my friend, my comrades on the boat," but the way he's walking,
he's like stumbling. Oh, perfect.
That is apparently the director's like, "We had to really teach him how to do it, but my god, did he pull it off?" Like, fuck me, that was brilliant. So then they're both going off, and the boys have gotten out, and like the plot at this stage is the doctor won't leave without Hillary. Did we miss a point there?
I was going to say I enjoy the part about when they go in to rescue the doctor, and The doctor's there when they come in, and he started digging with like a little spoon or something.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, oh, it's nearly finished my tunnel, and then like he peeks down a tunnel, and it's like a real like proper tunnel, and
it's like the New Jersey to New York tunnel or something.
Yeah. Pissed myself at that part.
Oh yeah, then Val Kilmer goes, nice work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good. So then Val Kilmer, actually there was at some point. Yeah, sorry, we missed the bit where they jump out of the plane and we have the great parachute scene, which is brilliant. So they're both just able to perfectly control the parachutes, and they even have the bit where she like melodramatically turns away from him, and they kiss at the end, and it pans over to a fireplace. It's also on a parachute. That was brilliant. But they've decided, I don't think she's quite made her choice, but she's let him know, no, you're still the one I want. I still love you.
Yeah.
And so he's very, motivated to go after her. So he chases after them, hops on. All the stunts here are legit great. I think this must have been kind of parodying or referencing Indiana Jones at that stage, the bit in the truck. But so he gets on the truck, he's like wrestling with Simon. There is a stunt where they're driving over a bridge with not a very wide lake over it, with a stone wall on the side of it, where the stuntman jumped out of a truck into the water where the truck is going at speed. Like, that is a dangerous stunt. Like, that is an amazing stunt. As great as that is now, it doesn't even compare to what happens next. But just again, it's legit filmmaking. Like, that is, and there's nothing, it's not a gag. Like, they needed to get him into the water for the gag. Fucking brilliant. So this is what I mean with the first time I saw it, where I was like, I could not have anticipated how elaborate it was. Like, so they sink, and the escalation of what happens next. So they reach the bottom of the thing, and they would have had to film this in a fucking water. Every gag here must have been so difficult to do. Like, oh my God. So it starts off with they're having like a fist fight underwater, which is funny in and of itself. Then I think the next escalation is your man pulls out a stool and he smashes it over. This must all be sped up because it must have been a lot slower. And then the stool kind of breaks away. Then I think is the next part. They reveal they're actually in like an Old West saloon. And he pulls a gun off the table. And doesn't Kilmer like throws him, or he grabs him and the gun goes off, and then it cuts to like 4 cowboys at the table, and like the chandelier does. The amount of time it must have taken, because it takes a second to write that. But part of the joke is how difficult it all must have been, and like, oh my, how. I
think I heard it was the hardest one to film. I think in the hardest scene to film.
It was like 4 days, I think, or something like that. I think, but it was so worth it on every level. Like, just the craft of it. It's just spectacular. And like, as I say, part of the joke becomes how much effort they put into like what is essentially a stupid joke. Like that becomes the gag. Fucking, and the way that they did it, like, fair play to Val Kilmer and the other guy. Like, it reads like a real proper fight. Like, but the escalate and the way they never take the easy way out. Like, they didn't just say, "Oh fuck it, just have him punch him." So like at the end, he's like punching him, and then he does like a nipple twist on him, and they have to like swap places, and all in one shot Kilmer is like winding up a punch, and then he just punches him with the other hand, and you're like, at a certain point, wouldn't most people have just said, look, let's just have him punch him with just hurry up. They didn't do that. They took the fuck, and it is so goddamn funny. And then the music plays, and he's putting on and he's acting underwater. He's like real pleased with himself like this, and then you're one of the bars like with the underwater, like, goodbye. And he gives her like the kind of shoots it. Oh my God. That is it. Why that isn't legit like one of the most famous sequences in film history, it just boggles my mind. It is so brilliant.
Didn't expect it at all when it was coming on. I was like, what is happening here?
That was part of why it's so funny, is if it were more famous, it would actually be kind of a weaker sequence. But like the fact that you just don't think they would like put that much, like the joke is how much effort they put into something that is kind of silly, like but brilliant at the same time. Oh fuck me, absolutely amazing. So then the film just kind of wraps up after that. This is what I mean, like some of the criticisms, I think, like the plot is kind of all over the place, but the romance carries it through, but it does just kind of end. Like it is kind of sudden. So she shows up, they do the joke where like her her boobs, I'll say, just kind of light up. They do isn't it here where they do the funny gag where they're kissing, but they're both obviously with their own tongues in the side of the mouth, which is kind of funny. And then they just do there was hints of Casablanca through it, but they seem to be doing the Casablanca thing where she's like, oh no, they're going to leave on that plane. And it is a little bit rushed. It's fine, like you get to see the French resistance guys again, so it's all good, but it is just a little like there's a little touch of like, let's wrap it up here, because she just decides to go. And they do the chocolate mousse, goodbye deja vu, goodbye to Quan, I'll miss you most of all, Scarecrow. And then the film just kind of ends like, you don't even really have a close-up on anyone or anything. It doesn't bother me, because I think part of the film's charm is it's so under the radar, and it's just like it's in and it's out. But I can kind of see where the Zaz guys seem to really just consider this a flop and a bit of a failure. Like they do say some of the gags are great, but they're like, oh, it doesn't really hold together. I can see why they would think that as the people who made it, and I see logically what they're thinking of. But as someone who just enjoys it and is like, Val Kilmer is quite charming, the romance carries. I haven't seen as many of these World War II films or Elvis films, but you know, have you ever seen an Elvis film?
Never seen an Elvis film. I don't think I will.
I think Jailhouse Rockers is supposed to be actually quite good, but it'll forever be associated with me. I saw a documentary on them in the 90s. So this was before this person was revealed for who he was, and I remember Jimmy Savile was in it, and he was like, oh, people always say they were very unsuccessful, but very successful at the box office, them Elvis films. One of his things was he was able to ingratiate himself with people like Elvis. There's pictures of him like with Elvis, like Elvis would have maybe known who he was, Jimmy Savile and all this. So I'll never associate him with that. But a friend of mine is a big Elvis fan. So the only one I've seen of any length was the last film Elvis ever made, called Change of Habit. Where he plays a doctor in, this is a complete sidebar, but it's not like a classic Elvis movie as you would imagine it, like this is spoofing, but he does sing in it. He plays a doctor in like a ghetto kind of a neighborhood, and is it Mary Tyler Moore plays a nun or something? That's why it's called Change of Habit. But there's a sequence in it where there's a character, this is made in the 70s, there's a young girl who has autism in it, and they say autism. And they go, well, what is autism? This is in the movie. And Elvis goes like, it's a condition that you have where you weren't shown any love when you were younger, so you just kind of shut yourself off from the world. Immediately, like, wrong. I remember I was watching that movie 20 years ago, and I was still like, that's profoundly wrong. What the fuck? And then, as if that weren't bad enough, there's a sequence in the film where Elvis, I'm not making this up, cures the girl's autism by hugging her for 5 hours and telling her, we love you, baby, we love you. And the girl's like, and he's like, we love you, we love you. He cures her fucking autism, oh my God, by hugging her. It was one of these quack kind of things at the time that people seem to take up, but even then you're like, this is offensive, whoa, what the fuck.
Shane Black took notes for the
that's he was all the wrong notes. That's the biggest experience I have with an Elvis film. Hopefully that won't get cut out, because I think that's solid gold stuff. His more like the Hawaii ones or whatever, never seen them. Maybe someday if they're on the TV, or though I don't watch TV much anymore. But that brings us to the end of Top Secret. What are your non-submersible units for Top Secret, Ciaran?
Well, see, I was trying to think of that as well for the film, because obviously there's not much like deep plot or themes or anything like that as well. So I think in true spirit to a film like this, my non-submersible unit would probably be my favourite gag of the film.
Nice.
Which I think my favourite gag of the film will be the whole sequence to deal with the cow. So I just remember, like, as the film was going along, I was laughing and chuckling with it as it was going along, but that was the first sequence that really, obviously it's towards the end, but it still caught me out off guard, like, where it just, as soon as the cow comes up and just licks the back of him and the noise he makes, and then afterwards when the other little cow comes up and jumps on him, and then later on the way he's walking, I just thought that was all just perfect. It was
that
just
is gold. It is funny how that became, if you look at the marketing material here, like the cow is the big thing. They do have Kilmer in there, and the girl with the dig out for her boobs in the I hate saying the word boobs, but I don't want to say the other one because it's more offensive. That's a big marketing image. The cow is it is just something. The cow is obviously a non-submersible unit, I'd say. I would just have to say, for me, the Tutti Frutti scene, I just think, for whatever reason, just think that it's the bee's knees and the cat's pajamas. And I wish Kilmer had done more stuff where he could have done stuff like that. Now, it's not really his fault because they weren't making a lot of movies like that. Yeah. But you see that and you're like, oh man, we were kind of robbed of him just having a bit of fun. And obviously now some of what made him great was he was very serious. Yeah. But I just kind of find myself wishing he could have had more of an outlet for stuff like that, you know, because he was just very good at it, and he was very funny in this while never trying to be funny. Yeah. Which again maybe is tied in a bit. If he had been looser, maybe the film wouldn't have been as good. Sure. Yeah. But when I think of it, I think of him, and I think of the Tutti Frutti thing. But the cow is. Funny, as much as I just said it should be the most famous thing, I don't automatically think of the underwater scene as much as I stand by everything I say. I think of that, and I think of like Val Kilmer, because I find him a very inviting kind of a figure. Like just in this, he's just kind of playing himself, but that's why he's a movie star. That's good enough. Like it doesn't have to be a character. Like, you know, that's the. Although The Rock is kind of pushing how much you'll accept of that. But like the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, you never say he really played a character. He played people with different characteristics at times. But you just show up for him, and he'd be not having that background. I think he was way more comfortable just like, it's just me. They want to see me. They want to see me, my thing. Yeah. I think Val Kilmer struggled a bit more with that.
Yeah, I feel like Val Kilmer would be someone who kind of... like step back from himself and like play a character, be taken serious.
He was a very serious, which is good. Like he was a very good actor, but I when I think of him in this, I'm just like, it is kind of a shame we didn't get more stuff like that out of him. Like as we say, actually that retrospective on the movie was in like 2014 or something like that. His career really took a bit of a dive. Now he was doing a lot of those, you know, straight to, in the US called whatever, straight to Redbox movies or straight to DVD
straight
things.
DVDs,
He would pop up in stuff occasionally. Did you ever see that when he did Snowman, which I think he made it in there was a gap between, he's like a Christian Scientist, which is why he apparently waited too long to get the fucking thing seen to. He made the Snowman in like the period where he could still speak a little bit. He completely lost his voice towards the end, and they had to like dub him over, and it was like seeing in the cinema was profoundly embarrassing. Like not for him, like for the movie. But it is just like, it's just such a shame. Like he really was great, and great movie star. He's great in this, very inviting kind of. What he was like in real life, it's not for me to say or make excuses for. He doesn't come off well. There's a documentary about making the island of Dr. Moreau. He's not in it, but he does not come off well in it. There was a guy in it, he's like this German actor who was kind of hot at the time. And he's very kind of candid about it. And he did say, like, he said, I grew up watching Val Kilmer. And he says, like, when I say he was cool, like, he really was cool. But he said, like, he was being a dick. Like, he said, the original director said, Val Kilmer was like, so what's the plan here? And he goes, okay, well, it's going to be his point of view, and the butt of the rifle goes into the camera, we cut to black, and he wakes up. And the guy telling the story, you know, was like, he really was cool, but he goes like, it's not going to work, man. And the director's like, what do you mean? Like, that's a classic, you see that in every movie ever. And he's like, no, it's just not going to work. And he was just there to like fuck with people on himself. Like, there's no real excuse for that, babe. I don't like to speak ill of the dead and someone like.
No, I feel like just maybe his career, like as he got more and more famous and into like the 90s and stuff like that, we had more control, might have developed a bit of an ego. But I feel, well, more positive now, I do feel like since what have happened in his later years, and even obviously with him, his last role in Top Gun Maverick, I feel like he did seem to kind of mellow out. And I did remember like seeing videos at the time, like before he passed away, where he seemed very chill. Like he'd be wearing like the Batman mask and all from Batman Forever.
I got that vibe too, that he kind of chilled out. I do actually, just to slightly sidetrack, I remember thinking I liked the scene in Top Gun Maverick, and I thought the film was great. I did think the film, what was great about it sometimes was it was very businesslike, and I thought that scene, I was like, because if you remember in the scene, he immediately starts going like, how can we solve your problem, Maverick? And I was like, I think this scene could have been 3 minutes longer, where they sit down and bullshit a bit about the old days. I kind of thought they missed a bit of a trick there. It was still a nice scene. I genuinely think that film is great. And the scene is quite good. But I do remember thinking, come on, guys, you don't have to be so fucking plot driven. Come on, like, just let the scene play out. I want to see fucking Val Kilmer on screen. He was still, look, it's just a shame. Like, he was, look, I can't speak to the guy. There were times in his life where it sounds like his behaviour
Yeah.
was kind of inexcusable, but who knows what people go through and all this. And if he mellowed out and maybe he wasn't actually all that bad, who knows? It's not for me to forgive him. It's not for me to be angry. Marks out of 5.
Marks out of 5. I think for this I give it a good strong 3.5 out of 5.
Really?
Yeah. I like the film.
I'm not begrudging you. I was hoping for.
I
would have made more of an impact than that.
I did like the film, and I like the gags and all. I feel like since it was my only first watch recently, and it wasn't one that I grew up with, that doesn't have that deep resonance with me. But
Fair
I still
enough,
do enjoy it.
Yeah, I saw it just, I think, on the cusp of like having good memories of it. I still. It's a very Galway heavy episode since my cousin suggested this, so I'll go what my father once said when I asked him who will win the All Ireland. I'll say my heart says 5 out of 5. I think my head says a 4 or a 4.5.
Okay.
But it's hard for me to be objective because I just think it's like when it is funny, I am just in knots of laughter at it, and just like, oh, this is brilliant. And again, I missed the craftsmanship of, which was not a huge budget movie, but they just put thought and care into it, and it just. In light of like this spoof movies do not get made today, apart from that Naked Gun thing, which I still haven't seen. That's kind of an aberration though, because Seth MacFarlane was involved. He has to kind of sway for stuff like that.
I actually did enjoy that. I'd recommend that.
Okay, I must give it a watch just to see like do a lot of the assumptions I would make about a modern spoof kind of stand up or not.
Do you think actually on that topic, like just a random question, but do you think would see something? Stuff like this again, like Top Secret and all, like, do you think that genre could possibly make a comeback?
It's hard to say. You can always just kind of say, oh no, that day is but like something like I would have thought Sword and Sandal films were finished, and then fucking Gladiator came out, and we're still getting those kind of, like in the 90s it was like, what, who the fuck would want to, that's Charlton Heston shit, man. And then Gladiator came out, was a huge hit. Actually, I would say Braveheart kind of laid the groundwork for it, but you never can tell. Like, you know, Game of Thrones, something that's basically not quite a sword and sandal thing, but like a medieval kind of a thing, was the biggest thing on television. I wouldn't have predicted that. So it's hard to say, but I would find it hard to imagine these making a big resurgence. Like they were so popular in the early 90s and 80s.
Especially with the kind of change in comedy in general, like in
where would
culture.
where would they be shown? Probably just Netflix or something like that, you know. It's hard to say. Like, the Adam Sandler films aren't miles away from spoofs. They don't directly parody things, but they're kind of playing a similar game. They're not quite as over the top, I don't think. I don't actually. I would probably never watch Happy Gilmore too. I love the first one, but it's hard to say. It's a good question that I would say maybe not. I don't think Naked Gun was as big of a hit as it was a hit. I think it was popular. But I just don't see them racing out to do it. But I hope I'm wrong. It'd be nice, especially if they're good. Like, you know, geez, well, the last time we got a glut of them were those fucking whatever movies which were abominations. Oh, sweet Jesus. Anyway, we'll end on a positive note, and we'll say au revoir, to everyone from East Germany,
from East Germany to the French resistance.
From East Germany, And thanks for dropping by, guys. We're on all the major platforms. Like and subscribe, and let us know if you'd like us to cover anything. What did you think of Top Secret? What's your favourite gag? What's your non-submersible unit? And we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.